Hey, I'm Blair Best. It's Friday here on The Story, and tonight, the Olympic pipeline, that's the main way that fuel gets to the Northwest, remains shut down. As the holiday travel season looms, what is and is not being said about the repairs? Plus, this week marks 1 year since the deadly bomb cyclone weather system devastated parts of western Washington. How a small-town mayor turned a serious situation into a lighthearted fundraiser for a local church. But first, we're talking artificial intelligence. For the first time ever, Oregon has a person in charge of how AI is used within state government and deciding when it is and is not ethical. It's our big story tonight.
What's the appropriate and ethical use of AI?
Okay, that is a big question, and one that Nick Blosser is tasked with solving as Oregon's first ever Chief Privacy Officer and AI Strategist. So what exactly do those job titles entail? Well, I sat down with him this week to find out.
Artificial intelligence is a relatively new technology that is widely popular now, and the state wants to use it in safe and responsible ways. And so one of my jobs is to determine the policies by which state agencies like the DMV or Medicaid can use AI to improve the way they offer services to the public.
So you may be wondering, who is Nick Blosser and why is he the guy in charge of crafting the state's AI strategy? His family is in the wine business. He grew up on a winery and ran a software company before he was former Governor Kate Brown's chief of staff. Now, his time working in the governor's office, he says, is what prepared him for this new role that he started about 2.5 months ago.
You really get a view of what all the leaders of agencies want to do. And I took a sort of special interest at that point in supporting the governor with IT investments at the time. The state has a number of very old systems that need modernization, and so certainly that was something that we were working on then, and AI now has the opportunity to really help.
So he says AI can affect every state agency and how they deliver services to you, the public. Everything from fishing and hunting licenses, making a reservation at a state park, the DMV, you name it.
So I'm just really excited about helping state employees be more successful, be more efficient, and deliver better services to the public.
So for people who don't understand, let's take that example of making a reservation at a state park.
Sure.
How would AI be used in that process?
So I should sort of back up and say today what we're trying to do is just give state employees access to, right now they have access to Copilot, which is like ChatGPT, a tool that they can use just to help them in their day-to-day life. And that's great. Not every state has state employees that have access to that tool, so that's really great. Now we're starting to move into more sophisticated or advanced tools. And let me give you, I think the best example might be for Medicaid. So Medicaid's the health program. I think over 1 million Oregonians have it. Also SNAP, which has been in the news lately, food vouchers. And so if you want to know if you're eligible, you call the state, and there's about 1,000 employees who determine that eligibility. They now have an internal chat tool where if someone has a complicated question, they can ask the chat bot, and it can give them the response right away with a citation, and it allows them to resolve that question much faster.
Do you foresee in the future this using AI in that way that you just described, making those, say, 1,000 jobs of people answering the phones obsolete?
Actually, not at all. What's interesting is with recent legislation in Congress, it basically puts, I'll say, 4 times the amount of paperwork. People have to sort of file information on there's work requirements now for Medicaid, and they have to redo their eligibility every 6 months. So you basically have 4 times the paperwork with the same number of employees. And maybe the only way to do that is with the assistance of AI.
So it's just streamlining their work.
I think it's streamlining efficiency and really supporting them so that maybe some of the more mundane administrative tasks are faster and they can do sort of the higher functioning tasks that AI can't do.
Blosser will be creating statewide rules for which agencies will use AI and what that will look like. He gave this example. Okay, say you work for the state and you draft a document. You could have AI review it and give you feedback before submitting it, but asking AI to create it from scratch and then just hitting send, That, Blosser says, should never be done.
Because one of the main principles that we have at the state is to have a human in the loop, we call it. When you use AI and it generates content, at some point in that process, a human has to review what was done before it gets sent out into the world.
Okay, great. But how will the state enforce that? What will stop people from having AI just do their work for them?
That's really what keeps me up at night, is trying to think about human nature. And like I said, it's less the technical issue and more human nature, and how do you, I don't know yet how to enforce that. I think it's a tricky problem.
So I asked him if AI will start making any kind of policy decisions and if Oregonians will have the right to appeal or challenge them.
Right now, in our guidance, AI cannot make decisions, period. I think if, this goes back to that risk assessment, if an agency is proposing, and they haven't yet, but if an agency were to propose that AI would make a decision of any kind, there would be enormous guardrails around that we haven't even developed.
Okay, now it's your turn. Talk to us. What do you think about the state of Oregon moving forward with using AI? Did anything Nick Blosser say stand out to you? Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. And if you want to hear more from Blosser about his brand new role, check out Straight Talk this weekend right here on KGW. You can also catch it Monday night at 7 o'clock right after the story, or anytime on our TV app, KGW+. Okay, it's worth noting that how states handle and regulate AI is catching the attention of President Trump and some congressional Republicans. Several different headlines this week regarding a possible executive order ordering Pam Bondi and the DOJ to sue states trying to regulate AI. Reuters reporting today that idea is being delayed, but there could be something included in the upcoming National Defense Authorization Act related to the feds cracking down on states wanting to limit AI. So the president sees some of the state regulations as restricting the economic possibilities of artificial intelligence, though many in Congress have publicly said that limiting how states can regulate AI is basically a power grab for big tech. So we asked Blosser for his thoughts on the feds getting involved.
I'm really focused right now internally on state agencies and delivery of state services, not on state policy. I know California and Colorado have passed laws, and so right now I'm just watching them and talking with the companies about, what they think.
Okay, and while we're talking about the federal government, let's get to some of your thoughts on our big story from last night. Highlights from my one-on-one interview with Washington Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez. We talked about two main topics. First, why she broke with her party and voted in favor of the Republican bill to reopen the federal government. And then we talked about her effort to publicly rebuke a fellow Democrat in the House for a scheme that she dubbed election subversion, where an Illinois congressman appeared to coordinate a move to get his own chief of staff in line to take his seat in the House now that he's retiring. To be honest, we expected a little back and forth both for and against MGP, as she's often referred to in D.C. But in fact, much of your feedback sounded like this.
I think it's a refreshing response to the many ways our Constitution is undermined daily. She was right. She stood up for what she saw was the bad behavior of others, and not merely was it the honorable thing to do, it was her duty. It saddens me to think what would have happened without her voice being heard.
And Craig wrote in saying, as a resident of Washington's 3rd District, I've seen Marie's political career since she ran for Congress. Marie ignores the noise from political extremists, and doing so may cost her her career. But if Marie politically loses while sticking to her deep community ties, family values, and work-together approach, then we'll be the losers.
All I can really say about that is good for her. For one, there's not even supposed to be party lines. There is only supposed to be our Constitution and America. And the lady's a little opinionated, and I like it.
A viewer on YouTube wrote in part, "We elected her specifically because she does what's right for us and the nation, not what party leaders tell her. She's doing exactly what we sent her to Washington to do, think for herself and act on our behalf."
I got goosebumps when I heard Marie Glusenkamp just now. Kudos to her for fighting the good fight. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I'm so emotional, but good for her. And I'm so proud of her, and I'm a Democrat. And we need more of her out there fighting for us.
And we'll end on this voicemail from a viewer who tells us he's a Republican who lives in Glusenkamp Perez's district.
I'm proud for what she's done, where she chose her constituents over her party, and I think that's important. I didn't like her at first, but I really appreciate what she's done for Washingtonians and to stand up to that other Democrat.
We continue to follow the complete shutdown of the Olympic pipeline here in the Pacific Northwest. That's the main fuel artery to the Portland region. Crews from BP, who operate the pipeline, are working to fix a leak spotted earlier this month. But there's still no timeline for when it will be back up and running, which could have major implications for local gas lines and flights this holiday season, especially out of SeaTac, as the pipeline is that airport's main source of jet fuel. Bridget Chavez has more.
An all-hands effort. Crews cutting deep into a field east of Everett, digging toward the Olympic pipeline that remains shut down after a leak. BP says workers discovered the leak on November 11th after they spotted an oily sheen in a drainage ditch. Two pipelines run through that area, a 16 and 20-inch line. The entire Olympic pipeline system has been shut down since Monday. The company says the fuel hasn't spread outside the containment zone, and they're still determining how much leaked and how much has been recovered. This leak and the forced shutdown could have major implications across the region. The 400-mile pipeline runs from Whatcom County to Portland. It provides jet fuel to the region's largest airports, SeaTac and PDX. Airlines are preparing for possible shortages. Both Alaska and Delta say they aren't seeing disruptions yet, but they're trucking in extra fuel, carrying more fuel on arriving flights, and activating backup plans to keep schedules on track.
It does come as a surprise. I wouldn't expect it to be a leak if that's the reason that they're changing the piping. It's just it was kind of out of the blue.
Closer to the site, nearby businesses are feeling the impacts too. Valentin Fernandez is a manager at a nearby nursery. He says about a month ago they were told to move about 2,000 plants so that work could be done on the pipeline.
My biggest concern is if they can get that leak fixed, and when this piping situation will be over, because the more they prolong it, the more I'm thinking they're going to have to ask us to keep moving plants, and it's just going to keep impacting us little by little, but through gradual amounts, it'll start to be a burden.
Well, Washington Governor Bob Ferguson declared an emergency earlier this week because of the pipeline outage, which lets fuel trucks run extended hours to help keep SeaTac supplied as repairs continue. But Ferguson warned if things aren't back to normal by tomorrow night, airlines and passengers will likely start feeling the impact. Okay, coming up next on the story, we take you to the southwest Washington coast, where 1 year ago this week, the bomb cyclone weather system rolled through, devastating a community church. How a small town mayor got creative in the aftermath of the storm to help the congregation heal. That's next, when the story returns. So this week marks 1 year since a historic and deadly bomb cyclone tore through western Washington, devastating homes and leaving communities in the dark for days. Along the coast in Grays Harbor County, west of Olympia, the storm caused major damage to a church. Drew Mickelson shows us how they are still working to recover with help from a creative fundraiser.
It's a wonderful space, it's a wonderful place, and it's a wonderful congregation.
For nearly 100 years,
Part of our mission statement is to be a beacon of hope to the people of Grays Harbor.
the Sarin Lutheran First Presbyterian Church has served the community of Hoquiam.
All of the wiring, outlets, light fixtures, all had to be redone.
But now the church needs help.
I have a friend from another culture who said, the finger of God has touched your church, and this is a blessing.
The single lightning strike early in the morning on November 20th, 2024.
Well, it just represents such a hardship for this church.
Toppled the steeple. It fried it, really, along with the church's electrical system, which had to be redone. A couple of stained glass windows are still being repaired. There's a new steeple ready to go up, but there's not enough money to do the work yet.
Well, we don't usually get lightning storms quite like that.
Hoquiam's Mayor Ben Winkleman will never forget that day. The lightning strike also caused a water main to bust. And then that afternoon, the National Weather Service sent out a tornado warning, worrying his residents.
I see somebody posting a picture of a water spout, and I was like, that wispy little thing's what scared everybody. It was all a very appropriate warning, but I thought, this is kind of silly. I should write a book.
Wispy the Waterspout's windy adventure tells the tale of a curious waterspout who didn't mean to cause fear or damage. Proceeds from book sales now go to the church.
They're going to have a lot of expenses in trying to replace the steeple, and it helps people, and maybe they'll get the stories out more to the kids so they realize, like, you know, wispy's maybe not so scary as a big, strong tornado, but something to pay attention to.
There are lots of generous hearts on the harbor, and we know that. They've proven that already.
Insurance has covered most of the repairs, but the church council is raising money to reinforce the steeple and ground it so it'll fare better in the next foul storm, ensuring the community can keep counting on the church.
At first glance, you think nothing worse could have happened, but it really has been a blessing because we've seen just wonderful, generous people, not just in our congregation, but in the community at large. It's just amazing to us.
Okay, let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino for a look back at that bomb cyclone. Matt?
Yeah, pretty impressive, Blair. First of all, let's talk about what exactly defines a bomb cyclone, right? And they're not really that uncommon here on the West Coast, and they happen in other parts of the world as well. But a bomb cyclone and the process that forms them is called bombogenesis. And this has been, right? It's a great word.
What a name, yeah.
It's been in the meteorological vernacular for decades. Anyway, you want to see the central pressure of the storm. The lower the pressure, the stronger the storm. Drop 24 millibars in 24 hours. It can happen any time of the year, but October to March is the most likely time in the Northern Hemisphere because that's our storm season, right? So that makes sense. And of course, it can result in heavy rain and produce winds in excess of 70 miles an hour. The one last year produced 99 mile an hour wind gusts on the coast of Washington and up in the Gulf Islands off of Vancouver Island. Produced all kinds of damage. Roads were closed around Vancouver, BC, so they got hit hard by it as well. And see, here's a picture of it. This is the bomb cyclone from last year, November 19, 2024, all wound up. But again, it wasn't the only one. We've had several. This one is back in October 24th of 2021, and you see the signature is just the same. Looks like a big old cinnamon roll all wound up out there. Here's another one for you from 2006. Again, all wound up like this. So they're fairly common here on the West Coast in the storm season. Often they will form from the remains of a typhoon from the Western Pacific. The one in 2016 that spawned the EF2 tornado in Manzanita, Oregon, that was the remains of Typhoon Songda. And then going way back to the storm that is historical in the Northwest weather records, the 1960 Columbus Day storm, that formed from an old typhoon called Frida, and that was definitely a bomb cyclone. But you know what? The one that came last year was record-setting because look at this. Remember I said the pressure has to drop 24 millibars in 24 hours? Well, this one dropped 24 millibars in 3 hours. That's insane in meteorological parlance, if you will. It also dropped 50 millibars in 14 hours. Hurricanes usually don't even do that, Blair. Really impressive. And it tied the bomb cyclone from 2021 for the lowest pressure ever recorded in the Northeast Pacific, all the way down to 942. And again, hurricanes in the Western Atlantic will drop that low and lower, but that is super low pressure, lower than any pressure we've seen along the West Coast. So really, really impressive storm last year. Not unprecedented. And you see they come about every 5 years or so, we get a big one, but you never know. It's kind of year where we could see another one. But there's nothing like that in our 7-day forecast, thankfully.
Nice transition.
Thank you very much. Calm everybody down. No bomb cyclones coming our way soon. Fog tomorrow morning on Saturday. We'll get rain on Sunday as a non-bomb cyclone approaches the West Coast and just acts like normal. And then sun and showers on Monday. As far as Thanksgiving goes, I think we'll get a dry day on Thanksgiving, but rain the day before and rain the day after. Blair?
Okay, Matt. Looks good. Thanks so much.
You bet.
And we're back, guys, right after this. Well, before we go tonight, we all know libraries have books, though now some are branching out, offering things for people to check out. And as Catherine Cook reports, at Fort Vancouver, they have a little bit of everything.
They call it the Library of Things. And by things, Fort Vancouver Regional Library means power tools, cake pans, telescopes, and of course, all the books.
There's something inspiring about walking through stacks of library books, each aisle evoking questions you may have never asked yourself before.
How often do you need a dump truck cake pan?
Questions that must mean you're into Fort Vancouver Regional Library's Library of Things.
We launched on Monday.
It is exactly
the GoPro camera.
What you think it is.
Toddler flashcards.
It could be something that is really about lifelong learning. There's a podcasting setup, for example. Everybody does a podcast today, right? No, not yet. Well, you can at the library.
Jennifer Giltrop is Executive Director of Fort Vancouver Regional Libraries. She credits public input and the Library Foundation's $15,000 investment for getting the collection off the ground. Right now, there are 50 items with duplicates of each. Everything from bocce ball and binoculars to drill kits and pickleball. All of them cataloged online. Card members can reserve up to 2 items at a time.
I was really excited when I saw the telescope because I'm really into astronomy, but then I also saw like a knitting loom and sewing machines.
Once reserved, the library will deliver items to your branch where you can pick them up, like here in downtown Vancouver.
Hopefully, it will be bringing in people that may not be aware of our services. A lot of people think libraries are just books.
I think that's awesome, like especially like for low-income families where like there's a lot of things that take a lot of initial money that you may only need a couple of times, and then what do you do?
We're looking at you, dump truck cake pan. In Vancouver, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
What a cool thing. Okay, that's the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Timbers 360 is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. If you ever miss an episode of The Story at 6:30, we re-air it at 8:30 and 10:30 on our TV app, KGW+, which, hey, you can download for free right now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. In the meantime, have a great weekend. I'll see you right back here Monday night at 6:30.